Activity planning is an important task in software project management. So it contains the objective of doing activity planning, and how do we derive the project schedule, and how do we sequence and schedule the activities and its importance. To do the sequencing and scheduling, we need to have a diagrammatic representation so that we can track clearly what is happening, what is going to happen in the project. Even we think of a civil project, a building construction, we need a blueprint to visualize what will be coming as an outcome. So a model, house model, a diagrammatic, either 2D or a miniature model for large projects and all, like central government buildings and all, we'll be creating miniatures so that the higher officials will approve that. For a normal middleman homemaking and all, we'll be simply creating a two-dimensional drawings. So that will have the arrangement of rooms, where doors will be, where windows will be, like that. Similarly, for a software project, which are all the modules are coming in this project, and what is the connectivity between each and every module, or to develop the modules, which is to be done first, which is to be done next, whether these two can be parallelly done or one by one. So all these are to be represented as a diagram first, so that we can have a clear idea on how to proceed further, whether everything is correct or not. So likewise, we have to create a diagram. So one such diagrammatic representation could be network planning model. So network planning models helps to visualize the complete list of activities that are coming under a project. So that part is a main part under this chapter. Then activity on node network. Activity on node network will be creating, and then forward pass, backward pass. So these two will come under this. In a forward pass, we'll be calculating the duration of possible duration for each and every activity, and in the backward pass, we'll be correcting those things. Okay, so we'll be seeing when we see that. And activity float. What is activity float while constructing the diagrammatic representation, and how do we shorten the project duration? So once the diagrammatic representation is ready, based on that we can plan. So the diagrammatic representation will finally give me an idea how much roughly how much time it will take to complete. So based on that, where and all I can manage, like which can be kept parallel so that the total duration can be reduced. So those sort of analysis we can do with that. And another way of making the diagram, that is activity on arrow network. By simply seeing the name, you could guess that activity on node. So each node represents an activity, and activity on arrow means each arrow represents the activity, but node deals with the starting point of the activity and the ending point of the activity. So we'll be seeing all these things. So under this chapter. So now the overall project planning, as we have seen, it comprises 0 to 9 steps here. So in that, step 4 and 5, we could see that requires planning of activities. So in step 4, we are identifying the products and activities. So this part is actually detailed in this chapter. Okay. So once this has been finalized, then we can estimate effort for each activity. So previously we have seen effort estimation. That effort estimation covers this part. Effort estimation generally can be done for the overall project, and then for each activities separately for each activity, so that we can cross verify whether the overall effort estimation is matching with the activity level estimation and it is summed up. So this is step 4 we can track here. And the objective of activity planning is to provide a project a complete schedule, a project schedule and the resource schedule. So that is the main objective. If activity level planning is not done, we cannot have a proper schedule for this project. When do we complete each part of the work? Though this is the main objective, additionally, we can use this for feasibility assessment, resource allocation. Parallelly, 2 activities can be done means we need 2 computers. One by one it is to be done means one computer, one person will complete that activity. The same computer will be used by the other person likewise. Almost for all sort of resource allocation, system allocation, staff allocation, for all these, this activity level planning helps. Then detailed costing. Detailed costing can also be done if we have activity level planning, and for each activities how much cost it incurs, so that we can together add to find out the detailed cost. Then it improves motivation. So what are all the basic activities in that project, and what is the sequence of the activity, everything is known. The team member will have clear idea when to do what, and it increases motivation among the team members. They will have some positive hope to do the project, so it increases the overall motivation, and it improves the coordination among the team members. If something is not clear, it creates some hazards, like team members will have a conflict that you only has to do, you only has to do likewise, and they may thought that person 2 will do that. Person 1 simply ignores a particular activity, thinking that person 2 will do. But person 2 may ignore again. Person 3 will do, and so I am not doing that. Likewise, so many things will happen. So if activity level planning is there, we'll be mapping the persons also. Which person has to do which activity? Who is responsible for which activity? Everything will be drafted, and based on that they can work. So this activity planning and scheduling techniques place an emphasis on completing the project in a minimum time at an acceptable cost. So if activity planning is clear, we can have a confidence that we can complete the project as per the scheduled time or even before. And the budget is maintained within the expected estimate. Even lesser than that. So if planning was not clear, all these will go beyond that. Time will overlap, cost will go beyond that, so everything will happen. And or we can say set target date, and set target date can be achieved successfully at a minimum cost. So in that way also we can assume if detailed activity planning is there. So when do we plan? When do we plan? When to plan? So this is an ongoing process of refinement, like planning is not one time. So we have to plan whenever it is required. Further we can refine. We can refine the planned, and accordingly we can adjust the schedules. So it is an ongoing process of refinement, and at each iteration it becomes more detailed and more accurate. Whenever we refine one more time, likewise, as per the completed schedule, and we can cross verify, we can get a more detailed and more accurate planning. So generally it is done during the first stage feasibility study and before starting the project, but we cannot stop only up to this. After starting the project, if it is not, there is some deviation in the schedule, means again one more time we can plan, and how do we make the complete project on to the target. So that also we can plan one more time if required. So we can refine at several steps. And to sum up, the main purpose of activity planning is to estimate the time scales and estimate risks of not achieving target completion date. Like initially we'll be doing some planning, and based on that we'll allocate resources, and we ask them to start the project based on the plan. But after that, while tracking it, if required, if something is having some deviation, we have to do planning one more time, and accordingly we can refine, and we can have a confirmation that is there any risk in not successfully completing on time. So that we will have some idea about whether do we have a risk. That risk is what? Not successfully completing the project on time. So if that risk is there, immediately we have to allocate some more resources, some more person or some experienced person, or we can train the people involved in developing the project. Some training sessions we can arrange and make them to complete sooner as per the target. Some mitigation steps we can take in between, so that the risk will be avoided. So the final motive is to achieve success. Success means what? Project should be completed in time within budget. That is success. So our overall aim is almost the complete software project management, the full step, everything is required because of achieving success. Achieving success in terms we can think of completing the project on time, within budget, with required quality. So these three are the key points here. And we can estimate risks of keeping within the budget, within the schedule, within budget. These two are main thing, and quality should also be maintained while doing this. So project schedule is generally established based on the constraints defined for each activity. So if we have listed out all the activities in the project, then we can derive the project schedule based on the constraint. Activity 1 requires 4 person at least to work on it. That is a constraint on activity 1. Activity 2. Activity 2 can be started only when activity 1 is over. So that is the constraint on activity 2. Likewise, each activity may have some constraints. So that are to be listed, and based on that we have to make the schedule. So it comprises 4 main stages, the scheduling of activities. So first we have to produce the plan. What are all the activities inside the project, and what is the order of those activities to be carried out. So that is the first step, list of activities, and is there any relationship between the activities, like ordering is there, or parallel activities likewise. So that are to be finalized. And then what is the ideal activity plan? So this ideal activity plan includes whether there is a possibility of risk in each activity, and how does a particular activity handle this risk. So if these two are also addressed in the activity plan, so we will be calling it as an ideal activity plan. Okay, so the activity plan also considers risk. Okay, so that risk management itself is a separate chapter, so that we'll be seeing after completing this. So 2 steps over. Third step will be allocating the resources. So now, how do we allocate resources for specific activities, and what is the expected availability of resources? Totally 5 activities are there. Activity 1 requires 4 computers and 4 members, and activity 2 requires 1 person, 1 computer. Activity 3 requires, likewise we have some requirements. So all these are to be listed here. Okay, so available resources, only these many systems are available means how do we manage with the available system? So person 1, today you come and take up this system. Tomorrow that person will go for some other work. Okay, you occupy that system. Likewise, some arrangements they have to make when there is a shortage of resources. Systems usually will be there for each person. Sometimes like they need to use some printer, some other according to the project. Some devices they have to use means accordingly they have to manage. So all these will come under this step 3. Allocating the resources, planning the resources, how much resources are available, and accordingly allocating those resources include the physical resources as well as staff. Okay, person who is working on it. And 4th step would be producing the schedule. So what are the planned start and end dates? So this is in a minute level. So once activities are listed out and the relationship between the activities, which should be completed first, which should be completed next. So all these are finalized. Then which activity requires how much resource, that is also finalized, and risk associated with each activity, that is also fine. If that is finalized, that is the ideal plan. That should also be considered. Then finally we have to derive what is the start date and the end date for each activity. So minute level. So if this is fixed, then the person working on it can adjust their speed of work accordingly. So in this way we can produce the schedule and what are all the resources allocated for each activity. So based on the availability, finally we have to allocate the resources and then fix up the schedule for each activity, start date and end date. Okay, so all these we are going to do procedurally. We'll be seeing how to do that, how industry people are doing that. So that part we are going to see. So now, as I have told, activity planning is coming under step 4, and once activity planning is done, the next step is activity level effort estimation. Okay. So while defining activities, first step is we have to list out all the activities. So how can I list the activities in the project? Or we may have a doubt that which one I am telling as an activity. Is creating a variable is an activity, or a module, a complete module is going to be an activity? What? So we may have several doubts like this. Which one we are going to call as an activity? So there are some references, some guidelines to define the activity for a software project. So that guideline tells us some assumptions. Okay. Based on these, we can define the activities in the project. So first one is, a project is composed of number of interrelated activities. This is the first assumption. A single activity is not a project. Okay, so we can decompose the project into list of activities. They may be interrelated sometimes. Sometimes relevance may be there. Project may start when at least one of its activities is ready to start. Any one of the activity first is starting means the project is about to start. I hope you all will agree with this. Then project will be completed when all of the activities are completed. So 10 activities required for the project means all the 10 are completed means we could conclude that the overall project is completed. So this also you will all will agree. Yes. An activity must have a clearly defined start and clearly defined end point. So normally it is marked by the production of tangible deliverable. Deliverable means uh, which we are delivering, like working software, working module. So that we can call it as a deliverable, working module. And that module is delivered means for which you can execute, give some input and check whether correct output is coming or not. Okay, so that we can call it as a deliverable. Like in Word document, MS Word, you can assume first activity is creating file menu. Required things to be inside the file menu. So if I creation of file menu even can have some splits, new, added, likewise. But for example, I am telling. So creation of file menu is considered as an activity means I am delivering the software. File menu only will be there in the Word document, edit and all not yet developed. So the user is clicking file, checking what are all things that are listed, new, open, save, save as, these are all coming. Yes, it is coming. When click on new, it is fetching to that document explorer or it is asking for what type of document to be opened. So likewise, it is asking, yes, all these are correctly working. So this is one deliverable. The customer approves it, then they will be extending it further. Next, the edit menu, likewise, insert menu, likewise, they are keep on adding. So activity must have a clearly defined start and clearly defined end point. Where to start, where to end, which is the start and which is the end. So that we can call it as an activity. And that produce a tangible deliverable. And if an activity requires a resource, then it is required constantly. So an activity requires one computer means start date is Monday, end date is Friday means throughout the full duration, the system should be available to carry out the activity. So that is the assumption. And duration of the activity must be forecastable. We have to predict. We have to predict how much time it requires. In that way, we can define an for any activity. The duration is unpredictable means we couldn't call it as an activity. We have to further split it up. Then only we can predict the rough estimation for that activity. So these are all the list of assumptions, and we have to define what are the precedents for any activity. Like before starting this activity, these are all the things must be completed or already available. Like for studying SPM, the prerequisite would be software engineering. For studying network security, the prerequisite should be computer networks. Likewise, for any activity, what are all the precedents? which are all the things already completed or available. Then only this activity can be carried out. Okay, so likewise. So all these are to be considered while defining an activity, listing out the activity in our project. Next, how do we identify activities? So either activity based approach. In activity based approach, we'll be creating list of all activities based on the assumptions I told previously. And to create this list of all activities, a group of people who are all going to develop, or some stakeholders sit together as like a meeting, and they can have brainstorming sessions and discuss. Somebody will say this can be an activity, somebody will say no no no, that cannot be an activity, that can be further splitted into two, then it can have two more two activities. Likewise, finally they have to conclude, okay, these are all the list of activities. How do we normally do? Like in a family, if you are planning to go for a trip, a 4 days trip to Goa, means how do we plan? So each person will give their own opinion, and they will do some brainstorming session. Finally we derive out a plan. Okay, yes, this is the thing we are going to do. Likewise, so in the same way, they can list all the activities in the project, and this is called work breakdown structure. Generally, the total work we are splitting into sub activities, means that is called work breakdown structure. Okay, so the activity based approach is generally defined here as WBS, work breakdown structure. And product based approach, so in this case, we could list what are all the deliverables in the project. Based on that, we are defining the activities. That is product based approach. uh, File menu creation, edit menu creation, insert menu creation, likewise, or this report preparation, that report preparation. Likewise, products, what are all the deliverables going to come in the project. Based on that, I am defining the activities. Means we could call it as PBS, product breakdown structure. So initially we'll be identifying what are the core products, and which product is transformed into another, or each are separate products in the whole project. So in that perspective, we have to identify that. Okay, so this is mainly useful in unified software development process. And sometimes we may need to follow hybrid approaches, like once the top level products are identified, and for each product, list of activities, WBS, for each product, WBS. So in that way we are doing, means that is hybrid approach. Okay, WBS based on the project's main products. So that is hybrid approach. So to identify activities, we can either follow activity based approach or product based approach, or this hybrid approach. So in WBS, we could see an example here. This is the overall project, and analyzing part, design part, and build part. So they are deriving that analyzing activity, design activity, build activity. And analyze activity is not splitted into further module, because that is having a clear start and clear end, forecastable everything. Okay, it is not divided further. And build part is also not divided further. It is having clear start and end, forecastable, everything matches. Okay, now design. So for design part, they couldn't forecast how much time it takes. So what they are thinking, they are further dividing that. So they are dividing that into data design, process design, and physical design. Now, process design, they think, yes, it is forecastable. We can plan the effort for this activity. Clear start and end is there. And for physical design also, effort is forecastable, clear start and end is there, it is not divided further. But for data design, they have still some confusion. So further they are dividing that into relational data analysis and logical data design. So in two parts they are dividing. So finally the activities could be first activity analyze, second is relational data analysis, third is logical data design, fourth is process design, fifth is physical design, and sixth is build. Okay, so totally 6 activities for this project, and further based on this segregation they have to clearly specify. One must be completed before starting 2. If the requirements are not analyzed, we cannot start data analysis. Once data analysis is completed, then only we can do data design. Data design and process design can it be done parallelly. So likewise, they have to do some decision making. So that is to be carried out. Okay. So this work breakdown structure, this is WBS. Okay. WBS approach include the belief that it is much more likely to result in a task catalog. You could see, so it is it is resulting in a task catalog. And this task catalog will have complete and composed of non-overlapping activities. And we have to sequence it in the sense of deciding which activities need to be completed before others can start, as I told. So that parallelism we can finalize. Okay. Next, this is one example of PBS. The project here is to develop a computer. Okay, to manufacture a computer. So in that case, it is a hardware project. In that, the deliverables would be main unit and developing a monitor and developing mouse and developing keyboard. So these are the physically representable products. Okay, and each product is listed under main unit. What are all the sub products? And under these sub products, is there any further split up? For housing and a hard disk drive, video card and all, no further split up. For motherboard, yes, there are further split ups. Likewise, each of the products, what are the sub products? This is product breakdown structure. And finally, for creating the body part of mouse, how much time it will take? For creating the ball of the mouse, how much time it takes? For electronics components to be kept inside the mouse, how much time it takes? Likewise, even if required, these can be further split up. So likewise, we can derive the product breakdown structure, and for each product, how much time required and what is the cost required. Likewise, we can estimate. And in hybrid approach, we could see project is mainly divided into 4 deliverables. First part is installed system. Second part is corresponding software components. Third part is user manual preparation. Fourth part is a training course to be arranged to use the software. Okay, so in 4 ways they are categorizing 4 independent modules, independent deliverables. This is the original software, and this is additional components that we have to supply, and this is the user manual for reference. Only user manual will not help them, so we have to give training, so conduct a training course. And based on these deliverables, further they are dividing the activities. Okay, analyze the requirements, outline design, detailed design, integrating the system, testing the system, deliver the system, user testing. So up to this, it comes under complete installation of the system. And additional software components we are supplying with that. What are all the requirements for that? And for that, we need to have outline design, detailed design, and code that, then test and deliver. And for here, correspondingly, user manual, we have to analyze the requirements, in what way the user needs the manual, we have to design the manual, we have to write test cases, capture screens, and do page layouting and print the manuals. Finally, we'll be handing over along with that. For training the course, analyze the requirement, design the course, session 1, session 2, likewise we have to design it, who is going to handle which session. And for this, we have to supply this manual. Okay, during the session, they can refer the manual and listen the session. And we can print the handouts, deliver the course. So likewise, normally hybrid approach is feasible. And to sequence and scheduling the activities, scheduling clearly indicates when each activity to occur and what resources it will need. So this is actually scheduling. When the activity has to start and how much resources it requires. That's all. This is scheduling. And for all the activity, it is finalized. The schedule is finalized. Then we can sequence it one by one, which after the other. So this has to consider availability of staff and the ways in which it has been allocated to them. The general way to represent this is bar chart. So this is the common way the industry people are following for that. So this bar chart is having sequencing of the task and schedule of the task, and it provides logical relationship between the activities. You could see this is one example bar chart. So person A, Andy, person B, Andy, activity A to be carried out by Andy, activity B by same person, activity C by same person, activity D by same person. After that, next person is getting involved in that. So, and this is like week 1, week 2. So, the same person is involving. All these are one by one the person has to do. Week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. And you could see Bill can start activity E during the 3rd week, parallelly to this activity. So, here itself you can start. And it takes 3 weeks to complete. So, here only it is getting completed. After that, he can do the next task, as it is involved with the same person. And here next person is coming into picture and he is starting parallelly here, 4th week, likewise. So this bar chart procedure gives a complete idea. Even for the final year academic project, in the previous years, we asked the students to do this bar chart. So all your list of modules, 3 people are involved in a team generally, and each people is involved in which work. Okay, and accordingly you have to prepare this bar chart, a Gantt chart or bar chart. Okay, so likewise, previously we asked them to prepare like this, and you can track whether as per schedule you are completing the work and all. So likewise you can track this. So another bar chart representation you could see. So in this place, 3 people are involved parallelly, and here 2 people are involved, and initially only 1 task is being completed likewise, and it is getting completed in the 9th week. So this bar chart representation helps us to track the progress of the project. So remaining things we shall see in the next class.